Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This video is gonna be a little bit different than my usual build video because this one is about handy creative build tools you can use in Minecraft creative mode. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. So, just because this video is a lot more technical and a lot more into the command block stuff of Minecraft, I'm not gonna use shaders just to make it less laggy and easier to see what's going on. So that brings us to our first tool, which is what I call the stone cleaner. Now, what this one does, if you have a stone area like this one right here, you've got a lot of diorite and granite and gravel, which as a builder I do not like. I don't want this. So what this thing does, if I hold it, I can now remove all of these ugly blocks, as I like to call them. And yeah, now we got a smooth set of stone right here. This could come in handy if you're trying to do some projects involving lots of stone, like something underground, a ravine or something. You might want to get it cleaned up, and so you can hold this thing as some sort of brush. You could, by the way, make it anything. I'll explain how the commands work later. I'll just first show off what they do. So that being said, it will bring us to the next tool, which is what I call the Kelp Removal tool. Now, if you have a large body of water like this, see right here, you can see over time the kelp will grow completely mayhem. I don't like that, okay? I want it nice and clean, just like as it is over here. So what does this tool do? Well, it does exactly what it says it will do. If I hold it, once again, like the brush type of idea, you can just remove all of the kelp below me. Like that. So this works nice and easy. You can just paint the kelp gone, basically. So if you were to just keep on doing this, you would eventually remove all of the kelp around where you might be building at the coastline or whatever you want. But yeah, that's just a nice thing to do. Now that brings us onto the next removal tool, which is the log removal. So say right here is a jungle. There's a lot of trees. I don't want the trees right here. I want to build something. I don't know what, but I want to build something here. Imagine, alright? So we go up to the trees, we hold the log removal tool, and it will remove all the logs right there, nice and easy. So if it makes a bit of noise, but if you continue to do this, it would actually just remove the logs and the random tick speed will do the rest. My random tick speed is currently set relatively high, just so the leaves decay very fast. But yeah, you could wipe out entire areas of jungle or forest very nice and easy without all too much effort, which is really great when you're preparing an area to build in. So the next tool on the list is a bit more on the construction side, and this one in this case has to do everything with creating paths. Right, so instead of just grabbing an actual block and making an entire path like so manually, that takes a lot of time, right? So if you want to save some time, you could just hold this thing, and once again it will brush all of the grass in this case away, and it will just create a path. And I can, as you can see, I can make turns. I can just go straight. You can just fiddle a bit around with it, and there you go. You can create an entire path. Now, of course, this is a lot. This is very straight and like very dry almost. So you can make a little bit more. You can make it a little bit more alive afterwards if you like. Just a bit like so. Continue on do that. You can do whatever you like, and of course you can not just only do cobblestone, you can do whatever you like. You can do stone bricks or even diamond blocks. Why not? Yeah, right. Just create paths easier and faster. Just speed up the process of path making. So the next tool on the list is another brush. Like all of these tools are kind of similar. They just I've just altered them to be used at a different situation, but it's almost the same command actually. But we'll come to that later. But first is what I call the sand placer. Now, what this does, if you have once again your ocean right here, there's a lot of gravel. Now personally I prefer to have sand at the bottom of the ocean, so what this one does, once again you can just brush the gravel away and replace it with sand. Yeah, if you were to do this manually, that would take forever. If you were to do it with fill commands, eventually it would just be so big to fill, it's impossible. So you have to do it in smaller sections, which also takes time. This is just relatively easy. You just paint over all the gravel away. The next tool on the list is a little bit more complicated, and when I say a little, I actually mean a lot. This is a clone tool. Yeah, well, what it does, it clones a building by holding something in your hand, in this case the compass, right? So right here is our clone selection zone between these glass blocks right here, and there's a little structure. I don't know really what it is, but it's just a random structure, okay? So if I now hold the compass in my hand, it will place down the structure just like that. So if I now move up a little bit to the side here, it will place another structure, right? So if you were to practice a bit with where the structure ends up, you can just easily copy paste this structure over and over. Now it also clones the glass blocks, but that's just the indicator. If you were to remove those, it would just remove that. Now the fun thing is, if we just destroy these real quick, if I now make another structure right here, so say I make a bit of I don't know, just this, and right, if I now hold the clone tool, it would create this right here. It would create what's inside the clone selection zone each and every single time. So the fun thing also is, if I right now change it, for example I do a bit like this, it would still remain this same, right? This is still unchanged, and I can place down a new one which does update, right? Yeah, that's very interesting and very useful, of course, if you want to do some mass production. And you can even make this selection zone right here bigger if you want, but I will come all onto that later, because the comments behind this is, well, it's harder to understand than the first few, but we'll get to it. So now for the comments behind all of these tools. Yeah, well, this can get a little bit more technical, so if you just want any of the tools that I've showed you in today's video, except the clone tool, that's kind of an exception, but if you want any of the brush tools that I've showed you in this video, comments of all of them will be down in the description, so you can just copy paste them into a command block, a repeating command block, which is on neat redstone, so you can easily switch them off if you do not want them anymore, and back on if you then want again want to use them. But so for the brush tool, it's all kind of simple. It's just this command. Okay, now this looks very complicated, but I'm gonna carefully explain what it does. Okay, so the first thing we do is we basically check with execute command right here if our player, which is the target right here, entity player at P, is holding a specific item, right? In this case we're holding a carrot and stick. So if that's true, we run at the player. That's the thing, we have to target it at the player, otherwise it happens underneath the command block, which is not what we want, but we want it where the player is. And we then come in with a fill command, and this fill command is right here. It sets the radius around it, so this is going down, so it's going down 40 blocks, it's going 5 blocks in the right and 5 blocks in the left, and then to whatever other coordinate there is, and it will place air at the places which we selected in this area, and it will only replace Minecraft jungle logs, which means it would remove the logs. So this is the tree removal command, which is powered by a carrot on stick, right? It will, by the way, work with any carrot on stick or anything you change it into what you want to hold. Now, you can just alter this command. Right here, for example, is the stone cleaner command. It's exactly the same command. Basically, all I've changed is the item we're holding. In this case, it's a cobweb. And we have changed the command, the fill command itself, which we have set to place stone and then replace the diorite. So this is basically the same command, but it would do something else. You can also alter the range by fiddling around with this You can make you can make your brush bigger or smaller like that. Some tools you want a small brush, others you want a big tool. For example, the path block command, it's also the brush tool, same command. You want a bit of a smaller radius right here, because otherwise you'll get insanely big paths, which is most likely not what you want. But that is basically the core of this command explained. So, if you thought those last commands were difficult and you didn't really understand them, well, then I wish you the best of luck with this one, because this one is even more complicated. This is the clone command. Right, so it starts out exactly the same by checking what item the player is holding, and if that is, in this case, a compass, right here, it would start to execute the thing, right? And it runs a clone command once again at the player, because otherwise it would just go wrong and it wouldn't end up where you want it. And then we got a first set of coordinates right here, and those are the selection coordinates. So that's from this class block and this class block. So that means it will clone everything which is between and actually in the selection zone itself. So for example, these andesite blocks are now in the selection zone and therefore will be cloned when I hold the compass, right? So the rest of the clone command is basically just where to place it, and that's just relative to the player. And we then say masked and normal. I'm not exactly sure why, because I'm not that great in technical Minecraft, but it works like this. If you understand the clone command really well, you could fiddle around with it. You could even change this to change where the building is actually placed that you're cloning. Yeah, I've fiddled around a bit with it, but it's difficult. Okay, it's difficult. And another thing, if you were to import this command to another world, you will have to change the coordinate each time. That could be a little bit of a disadvantage, because the other brush-like commands actually work all the time. You just need to activate them. So I hope I explained this well enough for you to understand. If you didn't, well, sorry. You might have to look a bit more into the clone command itself. I'm pretty sure there will be lots of tutorials of that online, in case you are not entirely sure what's going on. And that has brought us to the end of this video. Now, I hope I did a good job at explaining how these commands all work. If you want to have these commands in your own world, I will make sure to put them down in the description below, so you could either just use the commands that I gave you or alter them as you please. So I, as I said, really hope I did a good job at explaining them, because it's kind of difficult. Okay, command blocks aren't the easiest thing if you do not know how they actually work. If you're a bit of a newbie, it could be difficult to understand, but yeah, there will be lots of videos out there on YouTube already. So if you are a noob but in command blocks, but you do want to use these things, then just copy them. Okay, that's the easiest thing to do. Oh, they work in 1.14, but I'm not entirely sure if they will work in other versions. That's a bit of a disclaimer right there. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you actually will be able to find this video useful, and if you did, then that's great. Okay, now I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.